Uh, yeah, dude, it's been a while. How have you been?
Hear me by the way?
Yeah, I
Is
can
is
hear
this
you.
mic
Okay.
better?
Yep.
Awesome, cool. It's been exhausting. I'm super tired. I've been pumping like almost 80-hour weeks
Holy
since the new
shit.
year, but it's because I've been on so many projects.
Okay, true.
Uh, but they're wrapping up just in time for the summer of Smash.
Nice.
So excited. Plans are for Collision and Supernova.
Okay, cool.
Um,
I'll probably see you at Collision then. I'm not sure if I got Supernova in me this year. Just looking at like
okay,
my travel budget, but Collision like almost guaranteed. Maybe.
okay, yeah.
Um,
It's my home state, so
nice. Fuck yeah, dude.
visit the mom and everything. You know, a place to stay and shit. So yeah, definitely. Looking forward to seeing you again, man. We didn't get to interact much last time, but
No, just got
we
a
were
couple
actually
Marthados.
yeah, we were actually also I wasn't at the venue too much at Supernova because we actually moved in the area. We were like looking at houses while I was at Supernova.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, shit, dude. What else is going on with you? How are you?
um, I've been okay. I've been taking a little break from tournaments lately, honestly. I just
Yeah.
visited my family back in Atlantic Canada a little while ago, so
Cool.
that was cool. I did win a tournament there actually while I was home, just because it was like they wanted me to go out to a tournament there, and I was like, okay, sure. And then ended up having a flight travel voucher, which like I wasn't like fully aware of at first. I was like, oh
Oh,
shoot.
wow.
So I'll probably be going back home in 2 months or so for another tournament there. But otherwise,
All right.
I think my last tournament was Nouns Bowl, and I kind of just did whatever at that. Like I didn't underperform, but I didn't like do good either. So it's like kind of just taking a break. I think this is like my first month long break from competing, like in ever. Like so long. So it's been nice, and I did play melee like last night after I got home. Um, but yeah, otherwise, like I've just kind of been doing some shit like in town, kind of thing, visiting
Right.
family. But yeah, I'm getting
It's good,
back
man.
into it, which is cool. I'm enjoying it, and I also just fixed my controller recently too, so it does feel
Oh
really
yeah.
nice to play when I do.
Nice. Awesome. Are you on a fob or oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a fob,
Advanced?
but the problem with mine was I just hadn't like I keep mine in a case, so like it's just like the same controller all the time, pretty much. But
Yeah.
even with use, like fobs will stay the same, the values will, but the sticks will degrade over time.
Mhm.
So I just put a new stick box in it, and it's like perfect now. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's
Nice.
pretty cool. But anyway, yeah. So you wanted to talk about Marth Puff today, right?
Yeah. Well, kind of like on that note,
Mm-hmm.
in the same strain, I guess we can call this I don't know, from what I've read, it's gonna be the playing lame lesson, I guess, because I also wanted to talk about low tiers. Low
Sure.
tiers and
Okay.
floaties. They're in that bucket of kind of compared to other top tiers, a
Mm-hmm.
little more hard for Marth to deal with because of the lack of um combo potential on them.
Yeah.
Uh, because so yeah, let me see. I played it against an actual pretty hot Mewtwo who was cooking me. Let me see if I can find that replay.
Do you know their tag by
Um,
chance?
uh,
Is it Fast
hold on, I'm
Hands
looking
maybe?
through. Why does that sound familiar?
Fast
Oh,
Hands
I
is like
can
a
use.
really
Okay.
campy Mewtwo. Pretty notoriously just like a ledge camper, pretty much.
Yeah. Wait, I can click here. Can I? Wait. Sorry, I'm just clicking through. Tora. Her name was Tora. Oh, I played them a couple times. All right. Guess we can look at that one. And then I can find a the jigs that I played who was actually kind of crazy. I think they were ranked pretty good. Uh, wait, I don't know if we really want to look at the jigs one. I guess we can, but it's gonna be quick. Um, but yeah, me as well. I was taking a break for a little bit too. That work shit. But
Yeah, dude. I mean,
it is good for decompressing.
80 80-hour weeks gotta be miserable, I imagine.
Oh, dude, it was really bad. My girlfriend actually just yelled at me today about it. She's like your project's done. You're done, right? Because I want to hang out with you. And
Yeah.
like I'm definitely not working weekends anymore. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
Whether or
screw
not I
that.
can get off at like, I think last night I was still working till like around now.
Hmm.
But today I got off at like around 5.
Okay, sweet.
So which is good.
Yeah, dude,
It's getting better.
work-life balance is like super important.
Yeah. And my boss understands and he's like, you don't have to do all this. I appreciate you doing all this, and I hope you know we're giving you days off. I'm giving you days off, and I'm not gonna dock your PTO. And I'm like, sick. Fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's whatever. And I enjoy what I do anyways. So at
Nice.
the end of the day, it's cool.
Sorry, I'm just loading up my Slippy of like thousands of replays or whatever. So while that loads, why don't you tell me like what these games are or like what you wanted to talk about from them?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I've I have struggled with a lot of the floaty matchups. I feel like floaty players who are like good or
Oh, dude.
not even floaties in general, like low tiers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we can talk about that with the Mewtwo game, I suppose.
Sure. I mean,
Uh,
the thing to
yeah, go ahead.
understand about low tiers is like they are their own matchups, you know? Like there
Hmm.
is a lot that is like really simple. Also, like funny thing, this Mewtwo's from my region in Toronto right now, which is pretty
Oh
funny.
yeah,
Yeah, he's pretty good.
they're not too bad, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like let's say like Mewtwo for example, right? Like if I'm looking at the character select screen, I think there is like a lot of similarities in like how I would probably play Mewtwo versus like I don't know who a good example is, like probably like Zelda or something, right? Where like I'm
Yeah.
probably just gonna dash dance, maybe down till space some fairs and like not really overcomplicate it, right?
Mm.
Um, but that being said, like figuring out like how to do that, I think is also good, and also just knowing what they do. And the trick with melee low tiers, honestly, and sorry, I'm just gonna turn off the volume because it's always hard for me to talk and watch Slippy files back. But the trick with low tiers in this game is they actually are like really good characters if you don't know how to beat their tricks. Does that make sense? So like every character is actually like pretty good um for the most part, but every character is like pretty good and they all have like some stuff, and like that's why you see combo videos of almost like every character doing something, right? And they like looks pretty cool. But once you realize like kind of the weaknesses of some of those things that they can do or how to play around them, then they kind of struggle a little bit more compared to like they just have less options, right? So
Mm.
like
Yeah.
Mewtwo, one of his biggest strengths is his down tilt, which Tora is spamming a lot, and it's like, how are you going to deal with this, right? Because better Mewtwo's, what they'll do is they'll bait the down tilt similarly to how a Marth might, right? Where they like
Oh,
spam
are you
down
sharing the
tilt.
screen by the way?
Oh shoot, sorry, I was not. But
Okay,
I
that's
was
okay.
watching, just letting it play like while I talk. Um, okay, you should be able to see now.
Yeah,
So
cool.
like beginning of this talk, right? Like really all Tora is doing is he's just kind of spamming down tilt, right? But he's
Hmm.
doing like the good player thing where he's also doing threatening like crouch cancel out of it, right? So like you can't really like you see how like that forward air didn't pop him up, it kind of just knocked him down.
Yeah.
Especially at like some lower percents, like you can't really nair into him at all because you'll just get down tilted for it again or like
Mm.
grabbed or whatever, right? Like I would think grab is probably better than another down tilt, but I'm also not the Mewtwo main, so that's up to them to figure out, right? But
Right.
like
Yeah.
for example, I saw one a second ago. Maybe it's gone now. Like anyway, but like his whole stock, like he has just been spamming down tilt, right? And like hoping to catch you out of it. So it's like okay, against Mewtwo, like that's going to be like his puff back air. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the one move they are like spamming or you're most scared of probably. Like another comparison, like the top tiers I feel like don't really paint that picture so well because it's like they have multiple good things, right? Like Marth has his sword and his grab, right? Fox has like running shine, grab, nair, everything. Falco has like laser and his aerials, right? But like if I go down the tier list a little bit, like Ganondorf, for example, he really only has his aerials, and that's kind of it for him to fight you with, right? Like his up tilt, forward tilt, and down tilt, outside of like some niche things, like he can't really just throw those out in neutral a lot of the time, you know? Like he'll have to do like a
up tilt. Ganon up tilt is pretty, I don't know, underrated.
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah,
but like, so a lot of low tiers just kind of have that problem where it's like this is the one thing they are good at, and mix it with some other things can be really scary, right? So like Roy like has a really good grab and a really good dash dance, so like if you can't deal with dash dance grab, like you will lose to Roy, you know, even if all of his other moves really suck, you know.
right.
So there's like two sides of that of like how, okay, so like let's say like with Mewtwo, like I know Mewtwo's like, I know that down tilt's like his good move, right? So I'm gonna be playing around that for the most part, right? Kind of like reverse, not necessarily what am I looking for against Mewtwo, it's just like what am I looking to not get hit by, you know? And it's like, okay, it's down tilt and not much else. But the benefit of playing around down tilt is like, okay, well that means my aerials are a lot stronger. That means like I know he has like a pretty defined range of like what it is he's able to do if he wants to approach me, right? So like for Mewtwo, for example, like a big thing people complain about for this one Mewtwo player, Fast Hands, is like all he does is he sits in the corner and he camps with down tilt and Shadow Ball, right?
Nice.
But like really think about it from his perspective, like if he has to do like approaching down tilt to hit you, like that's just gonna lose to so much of what you can do. So it's like it's not like he has much else he can do. He's still lame, but like don't get me wrong, like he's at least a little justified in doing it if he's really sticking to playing Mewtwo and not just like trolling with some secondary, you know?
For sure, yeah.
So it's like that's kind of the problem low tiers have in general. It's like we'd have to talk about each matchup individually, but it's like generally speaking, right? Like here you do something kind of similar to what I mean. Like if you know the down tilt has this certain range out of the corner, you can kind of just do anything here, right? So like you're just dash dancing, holding space, like making it really hard for him to come in, and then eventually like you go in when he comes in, right? And it's like that is like enough to beat Mewtwo outside of just like, yeah, I probably could have edge guarded better here, or like, yeah, I probably could have got more off this fair or whatever. But it's like that is the main, like that's the key to beating this character, I would say, you know, or like any low tier, generally speaking. We could definitely watch this match and be like, okay, yeah, you probably could have like gone for something more than an F smash at 50, but like really it doesn't matter because it's a low tier. Or like, yeah, you probably could have got more off this down throw and got like a bigger edge guard and maybe killed him for it. But also like it doesn't really matter. I think what's like nice about the low tiers and slower matchups with Marth, like Sheik is a different story because she'll kill you off like one hit, right? But like these guys need multiple interactions to be able to win a stock over you. So it is good to like kind of learn anyway, right? And it's like you don't want to have a matchup where you don't actually know it, because otherwise it's like the second it comes to tournament play and like your back's against the wall and losers or something, it's just the worst, or like ranked mode or whatever, right? But like here, right? Like here's this down tilt, boom, right? And like that is the trick to beating low tiers in this game for the most part. So like we talk about like literally any low tier, like if I boot up, like I'm just gonna like look at them. Like Game & Watch. Game & Watch biggest problem is that he's really light as like a weakness for like comboing. But honestly, like neutral, he's not too bad. Like he can't L cancel his aerials, right? So like stuff like run up shield or just like raw hitting him, like whiff punishing him, is pretty good, right? When he does like a forward air, that one can be pretty hard to whiff punish, but you also know he can't L cancel it, so you can just like get up in his face and shield it, right? And that kind of makes whatever he does afterwards unsafe, and you can punish him then. or like his recovery is not that great. So like on top of like his neutral is limited, like you can kind of edge guard him pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Pichu, kind of just like a worse Pikachu. Like you don't have to approach Pichu a ton, but also like his range and his hitbox is so tiny, like he kind of can't really get in against like a walling Marth, you know? So it's like same thing with Zelda. Like Zelda's just so slow. Different reason, but like you can kind of just wall and like wall aerials and threaten like a you're going in at any time against Zelda, and then she's so floaty coming down. Same thing with Kirby. Same thing with Ness for the most part. And then Bowser's like you just combo him to death pretty much.
Yeah, him.
But like
Yeah.
like anything above that, like the links maybe, like I made a tier list the other day. This is my 2025 melee tier list, right? So this is my opinion on like how do I think the game looks from me. This isn't like I'm not like hard set on this image or anything, but
Yeah.
my opinion is like once you get past these once you get to these characters, they are not as good as these characters up here, but like you have to know how to play the matchup still. Otherwise, they're like still real characters, you know? These characters are kind of just worse versions of all these guys, like in one way or another, and have like huge weaknesses. But these guys, like they have one thing. Like I should have made this just 3 tiers, truth be told, but I do think there's like a defining line between like the Donkey Kong tier and like the Mario tier, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is my melee tier list, and like if you have questions about how
Roy
like
is
what's like a simple thing, I think Roy's like his movement's just too good to like have him be bad. Movement and grab, like Marth gets a lot of that, and like I look at like I don't know, like I look at characters like okay, Ganon versus Roy, you know, like does Roy do better against Fox, Falco, and Marth than Ganon? Probably, I would think, with his movement. He definitely does better against Sheik. Like Sheik just chain grabs Ganon to death. She can't chain grab Roy, even though like it's pretty brutal for Roy. I think Roy does better against Puff. Probably not Falcon, but like maybe. I think it's like comparatively bad, and I think definitely Peach and I don't know about Ices, but like most of these guys too. I think Roy does way better against just because he can like actually play neutral, you know, and Ganon kind of can't. So I might even put Roy above Mario, but I feel like that's like too crazy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I can see what you're saying. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, anyway, so that is like the secret to low tiers, right? So when we talk about Jigglypuff, my opinion of like the characters up here is they are all very real characters and like have different ways and mix-ups to like play different neutral interactions. So like an example is like I know Jigglypuff is probably gonna spam back air because she like it's a really good move. It's kind of like a does everything move for her for the most part, but that doesn't stop her from like landing and going for like a grab, right? Or like landing with a tilt or just like floating away, right? Like she has different options and they all kind of take up different spaces. Where I think like what is Mewtwo gonna do after his down tilt, and it doesn't really do anything, you know? Where Jigglypuff can at least like do something. So that's at least in terms of like spammable moves, I think that's what's like makes like a big difference between the two of them.
For sure.
But yeah, anyway, so does that kind of answer your question about like how to generally play against low tiers? And if you have Mewtwo questions, I'm happy to answer them too. But
no, I think it just kind of makes sense in that like I'll have to know the matchup, but like we said, you know, his wave dash is super long, and kind of quick, and his down tilt obviously super fast. But so long as I can kind of like identify those strengths and really think about it, I want to do the brainstorming on my own
yeah,
and
I think
watch my own VODs and you know do the whole.
I think what's
What do you
easier
call
to help
it?
figure out about the low tier matchups is like they also have like similarities with things you're already familiar with too, right? Like the Mewtwo down tilt wave dash thing, Like that's pretty comparable to like Luigi or Icy's down smash, right? And like
Yep.
a big weakness for them in neutral in general. And like maybe you don't know this and that's like fair, right? Like I don't expect everyone to like think about how interactions actually work necessarily, just like this move beats this move kind of thing. But like for someone to do a wave dash forward in neutral, like it's pretty committal compared to like a dash, right? Because you're stuck in that leg after like doing the jump and the landing and whatever, right? So
Hmm.
the down tilt like at a certain range like can't really work too well because it's like too committal, and maybe you hit him with like an F smash or a far reaching move before he's able to get there. But also like the down tilt's kind of just a worse version of the Luigi and Icy's down smash because you can crouch cancel it, right? And just like completely turn the tides on him. So again, like he kind of can't really approach with it too much. Um, and then it's like, okay, well now he's just stuck doing that one thing. And even if I feel like everyone does like kind of believe this, even though they don't think about it often, but like even if you don't know how to punish something perfectly in melee, like, or like you say you don't know how to punish it at all, you can still kind of play around it, you know? Um, and that's what I think makes like a low tier like not so great, because it's like even if I don't know 1,000% how to like punish them for doing this, like as long as I know to not get hit by it, I'm okay, you know? And that's kind of like how I would see the down tilt. It's like it's got all these weaknesses, it's got only covers this little range, and yeah, maybe I can't like punish you doing it like retreating or something, but I think that's okay also because like it doesn't do anything otherwise. So Jigglypuff, on the other hand, way worse. So we'll talk about like things I think are good against Jigglypuff and things to look for, because I also think she's a whole different demon in this game, just because you have
Yeah.
to play so differently, right? And it changes
Mhm.
per matchup, or like per character, sorry, against Puff too. Um,
This might have been a really crappy game, by the way. I found this one. This is the guy from the what's it called? The clip that I sent you where I effed up
the
the dash
grab,
grab.
yeah, yeah, okay,
I might have been tired, but we can totally still talk about it because I thought I was decent at this matchup, but then I lose to a few puffs. So I'm always down to learn more about the matchup.
sure, yeah. I mean, so far, honestly, it's like, and this is like the trend with Jigglypuffs in general. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm like number one Puff hater in the world, but it's like it's just kind of true. They don't really do too much and get rewarded super super heavily for it, right? Like
Yeah.
if I watch like this neutral interaction here, like he is quite literally back throw, catches your double jump, walks up, grabs, you know, and then it's just like shield grab in the corner, and like this is like really hard to deal with, you know, and that's just
Yep.
how Jigglypuff is, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so okay, so I mean, we'll just let this play just so you have something to watch and like think about as we talk about it.
Sure.
But I'm gonna give you like a brief introduction to Jigglypuff and Marth as characters and how they interact with each other. I feel like that would be like helpful first if we're gonna talk about it. Or would you rather start with like what you know about it, and then we'll do that?
Yeah, sure. Let's start with what Yeah, we can start with what I know. So she's got foot, and Martha has a sword.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually I noticed a lot of puffs like to crouch.
Yeah.
And I think you also mentioned that in your message.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want them to get in the air, but also at a point where I guess I can kind of hit them.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. I try my best, and I mean I'm very good at kind of staying patient
Mm-hmm.
in this matchup. I think, at least in terms of like you. I'm sorry, I'm having like an aneurysm right now. It's been a long day.
That's okay.
But yeah, she's the I gotta do better on the pivot. What they call it, forward smash,
Mm-hmm.
but. I just I slow it down a little bit, really try to like sometimes it's just hard to beat her back air, and I just like I don't know. I try to stay grounded the best I can, and when I do get to the air to try and like fight her with my stick, I just make sure it has to be the right moment. But
Yeah.
um
No, I mean that's
yeah,
like a fair
it's
breakdown, I would
it's
say.
just patience really, just like
Mm-hmm.
really looking for that opening because it can. It's not even about her like opening me up and like doing a big combo. It's just the constant chip aways, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like,
Yeah.
okay, so like on the topic of like this character can't really do much else with, like, you can't always just approaching back air with Jigglypuff, right? Because it's like if you do, someone's gonna like F smash, like the Marth is gonna F smash you out of the air, or like then you're easier to hit, whatever, right? So like they
Mhm.
do have, I think you're right to say that like it is just kind of a matter of patience when it comes to it is just like a matter of patience when it comes to uh finding the right time of hitting her in the air, right? But I also like that you touched upon like everything else otherwise, right? So it's like what I think of like Marth and Jigglypuff's strengths as characters. Uh, Marth's biggest strength is he has a sword, right? I mean, that's a given. So like if you swing at the right time, she can't contest it, right? That being said, Puff low-key has a sword in this matchup, in an invisible one, in the sense of like if she like runs away, you also can't contest it, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is you have to, as the Marth player, I'm not even going to talk about what the Jigglypuff wants for a minute. We're just going to talk about what Marth wants and make it simple at first, right? So as the Marth player, you are 1,000% right to say that like the matchup boils down to finding the right spots to hitting her in the air. Absolutely. But your first step before you even get there is making it so that she can't come in on you. And I know that doesn't sound intuitive because it's like Jigglypuff is forever known as the campy character.
Yeah.
But truth be told, a lot of them do just gimmick you at low percents or with crouch or whatever because they know that they're not going to die for like trying to go for something risky. And they often do get a lot of reversals off the crouch because she crouches so low. A lot of your moves will miss. She gets a reversal, like grab or rest or whatever. And then it's like, then she just has to camp, right? So it's like she just has to hold the lead, in other words. So the goal necessarily, it's like if we're starting from ready, go, right? Like, I don't know necessarily if this Puff is going to go in and face me or not. Like here they do, which is like usually they are a little bit more aggressive at the beginning of the game. They slow things down way later. But truth be told, like I am of the opinion, and I feel like most Marth players would agree, you actually don't want to fight Jigglypuff up close and like at a really close distance. Like for the most part, I think you are right to say that like you want to just find a good spot to get a tipper hit against her and carry it as hard as you can until she has to come back in and find her way back in, you know?
Oh, that's also another thing. I think this kind of also plays with the Peach.
Mm-hmm.
Is overcommitting on the punishes.
Yeah.
Something that I've been working on. I think that's also very, very important. But yeah, just on that note, but you can continue.
Yeah, and I think that's like that's very real in like the floaty matchups. So I think it's like good to be aware of it. But yeah, so let's talk about just like neutral, right? Like what Jigglypuff wants at a low percent is for you to try and swing at her and then she's like gonna mess you up for it, right? That is ultimately like without making it deep, that's what they want because she knows she's too slow to go in and just make something happen on her own, right? So she's gonna like try and use better defensive play and reverse the tides on you, right? But it doesn't look like that ever when you're fighting her. What's actually happening a lot of the time is she'll come in at an awkward angle and do something like this, right? Like this nair on its own isn't really great. But even after, like, how are you going to punish her for doing this nair, right? And she crouches after too. Like, she could rest right now and then that's just the game, you know? But it's
Yeah.
like, that is the truth, right? So it's like,
Right.
even if I were to back up and let's say like I knew she was going to rest after this, right? And it's just like, okay, we're both actionable, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
How does Marth like get a solid hit on Jigglypuff here? You know you can't grab because like you have to get the dash grab if you want to hit her, right? And assuming that like most Puffs do just hold down after an interaction where, you know, they're crouch canceling, they're hard to hit, they're ready to hit you if they react to your lag, like this is a really bad spot to be. On top of the fact that she could just like jab or grab if you try and do anything and hit her also, right? So
Right.
this is like actually I would say the worst spot you could be against Jigglypuff, and it's counterintuitive because it's like, well, all she ever does otherwise is camp me and I can't get in. So
Yeah.
the problem with this matchup, and you were right to talk about it earlier, moments like this even, right, where she gets another nair and just like crouches right after, right? All she's doing here is baiting you, right?
Yep.
And you have to realize that like this is like, and she missed up the bait because you didn't bite, right? And like maybe now you get a big punish or whatever. But even after the down air, right? I think this is a better example. She's still just holding down, right? Because it's like she's not gonna die for him, and she knows that. Like the Puff players do know that. They are extremely lazy in the sense of like their character is so good, and they don't push stuff like this hard enough, but they do spam it, right? So anyway, all this to say, right? The down air punish that you go for is pretty tough because it's like you're not going to get anything off that down air, right?
We do not have to talk about the Jigglypuff punish. It is on my like to-do list, high priority.
Oh yeah,
I'm
we're not
on the Marth R&D. I'm on top of that. Yeah, totally.
But what I'm saying is the down air is tough because you're already just from a get-go. Like if she knows you're gonna run away, she can forward smash you and kill you while you're dashing, right? If she knows you're gonna grab, like this is everything is in her favor here in this spot, and she has the potential to get like a really big kill. Where at best, maybe you get like a down tilt or like whatever, like a weak down tilt, you know. And it's like you're scrapping with her for what? For like in every other matchup you wouldn't want this, but it's hard because Jigglypuff has that stigma of like, well, she's just camping me. I finally get to play. And it's like, nope, this is actually like so anyway, all this to say, so you played earlier and I remember there was like one little interaction where you got a down tilt. So I want to talk about something like this, right? After this side B. So I agree that like the crouch is too much. Even like this, right? Where you're side being her out of the air, like she has broken ASDI properties. Like genuinely her ASDI game, I know maybe a little bit over your head right now, but it is the best in the game because of her hurt box, right? It like contorts differently. So even though she's in the air when you hit this side B, because she's holding down, she still gets crouch and punishes you. So it's like, you know, like that people talk about like the peach float aerial crouch cancel. Like Jigglypuff has it too. They're just worse at it. But anyway, like it is better with Puff for the most part against Marth at least. Anyway, all this to say, right? So like let's ignore the fact that she's punished. Could have like punished you here, right? We're here now. I would ideally want to be somewhere like here, right? Where like the down tilt might tip her or be close to tippering. But this is a realistic scenario, so we'll talk about it. So from my perspective here, I never want to be close to Puff. The only time I ever want to be close to Puff is if I'm going to try and grab her, right? And if I try and grab Puff, what do you think is going to happen if I try and grab a crouching Puff?
It's very risky, like like we talked about.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it's... You risk getting spot dodge rested, you risk getting F smashed, you risk missing it because you have to get so close. So you always kind of want to be far away, and we already talked about why just trying to scrap with her while she's crouching in general is bad, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, like how are you going to stop her from doing this, right? So similar to what we were talking about with the low tier stuff, where it's like if you know they're going to spam one option, you don't have to beat it. You just have to play around it. You know what I mean? And force them to do something else. So why down tilt is so great is because one, it is unpunishable if you get it at tipper spacing or like close to it, right? Depending on the percent. Ideally, you want tipper every time if you can, like being real. But like from the ground, if she wants to punish you from doing that down tilt, she really can't, right? Like if you do down tilt dash back, she can't punish you for it. She can take space, but you could also just do down tilt. Or like she could jump at you with forward air, maybe try and catch you jumping after you do a down tilt. But you could do like down tilt, up tilt, or down tilt F smash, or whatever, right? Down tilt nair, let's say. I would probably do down tilt nair. But anyway, point being, you have a direct answer to her crouch, right? Like you actually have something that does something with this spammable option. So what it's going to do otherwise is force her to do something else, right? Whether or not that's wave dash forward and she keeps crouching, we can play that game. Like I'll wave dash back and down tilt again, and we're still in the same spot, you know? And she can't do this forever because if it's tipper spacing, she's going to get knocked down, and then maybe you get something or you get stage control or whatever. But most Jigglypuffs in this spot, if they get down tilted a bunch, they're just going to take to the air, right? So this leads to part 2 of neutral. So part 1 is dealing with crouch, and it's important to talk about it because even though they're not using crouch cancel in the traditional sense of like, I'm going to like beat this one move and like hit you for it, like they are doing it because it changes so much about how she interacts with everyone, right? Like her hurt box, her ability to like go forward and like play on the stage, her ability to get reversals. So you have to know how to deal with crouch against Puff, right? So that's one thing. So when she goes in the air, however, when she goes in the air, however, different story, right? And we'll talk. I'll just get a good frame where I can kind of like visualize it for you if it shows up, but I'm sure it will. So what do you think Marth's strengths are when Jigglypuff is in the air, and what do you think Jigglypuff's strengths are? We talked about Jigglypuff's a little bit. What do you think is good for Marth?
Well, I guess he can still stay on the ground. He can still move.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Jigglypuff has her amazing drift, but I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be a comparison of those speeds, or I don't know. There are other thoughts, but you can go ahead. I need to hear it in words too from the coach,
No,
so I
for
can really
sure.
internalize it.
So I'm just trying to get an idea of like what you're thinking, and I think you hit some pretty good points, right? About like Marth is fast on the ground, and he is like Marth is a fast character. He may not be Fox and Captain Falcon fast, but like he's like around Sheik fast, right? Or like there's like another character that has surprisingly like fast speed, but anyway, it doesn't matter, right? Like Marth runs faster than Yoshi, than like Pikachu, or he runs the same speed as Pikachu, but like he's just as fast as Pikachu, right? For context, that's who I was thinking of. Anyway, so we talked about when Puff is on the ground, right, with crouch. On the ground in general, but they're going to be crouching, right? Mm-hmm. When Puff is in the air and you go air to air against Jigglypuff, you are right that her drift is really, really good. And it is like, in fact, so good, you can't chase Puff in the air with your drift, right? That's why she's able to do like a back air wall, right? But why that matters is if you try and like whiff punish her in the air, right? So let's say, for example, after they landed with this off this platform, a lot of Marths will just assume like, okay, well, they're coming off the platform like any other character. They're going to like land this way and like land with a forward air, and I'll like punish it, whether it be with like a grab or a down tilt or an F smash or whatever, right? But you have to remember Jigglypuff has 9 jumps, or like however many. I don't even know. I think it's 6. But the point being, like, she doesn't play by that rule, right? So this is like a big mix-up spot for her, and why it's like really annoying to deal with is because, sure, like if she goes in here, maybe you can deal with it, right? And that's like one thing to talk about. But if she decides to double jump away here and you chase her for it, she's going to be winning that situation every time, right? Because she is much faster in the air. Similarly, like if she were to drift down this way, it's not as good, because maybe you could do like a running down tilt or a running S smash and call her out, versus just like a Hail Mary forward air in the air that, like, if she gets hit by it, she doesn't die and she'll probably kill you, right? But point being, you can only punish her coming from the air if she's coming at you. If she goes away, maybe you could get lucky with like a fair in place versus her back air in place kind of thing. But the truth is, you can't chase Jigglypuff in the air for the most part. if she has the ability to, at the same time you decide to go in, to go away also. If she's committed to something like a jump at you, maybe then you can go in, right? But a big problem a lot of Marth players have is like they'll hit Puff, like they'll get a big combo on her, right? And do like nair, forward air, up air, and then she's all the way up here now, right? Can you see my mouse move?
Yeah. I can see.
So it's like now they're like, okay, well now I'm going to juggle her and I'm going to keep stage control and this is going to be great, right? And so like they dash dance or maybe they go on the platform or whatever, right? And they're waiting for Puff to come in. And Puff has 8 jumps, right? So she's up there way, way longer than any other normal character. And maybe she faints one way a little bit, but she's still actionable, so she'll feint this way. And the second she pulls away just a little bit, and a Marth like guesses wrong and swings at her, trying to catch her coming in, they get wallop-pained or they get like pounded and the situation's reversed. And Jigglypuff has some of the best edge guards on Marth in the game, and that's just it, right? So
Yeah.
Big concept to like understand is that she is faster in the air. You are faster on the ground, right? TLDR, I went a little bit in on it there, but why that's important for like a situation like this is when Jigglypuff is in the air, you become a walling machine, and stage control is like your best friend, right? So we've talked about it in other matchups, but just for example's sake, and I'll just take a screenshot of this so we don't have to like skim through the replay later. I'm just going to put this here for now in our DMs. We'll come back to this, okay? But for example's sake, right? We've talked about this in other matchups where like the way Marth is like a defensive character, right? Like the way he puts on pressure against, say, like Dr. Mario. It doesn't matter what character, but just point being, the way he's going to put pressure on someone is he might swing at the one place in front of you and catch you coming in. But if you try and punish him for this swing, he dash back grabs you, right? So like the dash is like what makes him good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He doesn't have something like, if I were to play like Fox, right? Like say that one forward air I did and then I did something afterwards, right? Marth's mix-up is like, I'm going to do like forward air in place, and then maybe I'll do like up tilt and catch you in the air. Or I'll do forward air in place and I'll shield. Or maybe I'll do forward air in place and dash back, right? So in other words, like maybe he goes super aggressive and like swings twice. But generally speaking, you just don't know how you're going to hit him retreating, right? Fox doesn't have this problem because when he does an interaction in neutral, like let's say he's doing it with his nair, like if I'm playing against Fox, I'm assuming that the Fox is going to do like nair into shine into drill. You know what I mean? Like they attack forwards. Like some of them even just do like nair jab like this, right?
Yep.
Or like this is pretty common. Nair turnaround up tilt, right? If you shield it.
Yep, I hate that.
Yeah. But like point being, right? Like most characters in Melee attack facing forwards, right? But if we're really like breaking it down, the way Marth attacks against most people, right? Like even like this is a better example. Captain Falcon, right? I can't really just like ground to ground. I can't beat Captain Falcon, right? Because if I try and chase Falcon down, he's much faster than me. And maybe he'll do something like runaway Lord Stomp, right? Where he just, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So like if I'm going to try and attack Captain Falcon in neutral, I hold my space that I already have. Maybe I swing at it if I think he's going to come into it, right? Or like something like this or whatever. But the point being, like, if Falcon wants to hit me right now, it's pretty scary for him because he has to like come in my space without giving up too much of his own, right? Because if he chooses to not try and approach me, I'm going to break the distance and get like, if he chooses to stay in the corner here, I'm not going to just jump over and like nair or forward air at him in the air like a Fox player. I'm just going to slowly make my way until now he's in that exact same spot. And maybe I can go in unreactably. But the bigger point is now he still can't come at me because I have like my aerial in place or my dash back. And I have all the stage to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so why this is relevant, very same concept to like the Falcon running away thing. I can't chase Jigglypuff if she decides to go away here, right? And that's just the truth of it. But what I can do is stop her from coming in my space. And that's much easier to do if I have the center stage and enough room to dash back than otherwise, right? If Jigglypuff goes up here and does nothing and like just waits and wastes your time, we can talk about how to like optimize covering her landings when she comes down. But the greater point is like if you just never interact with her and she never interacts with you, she's going to run out of jumps and then eventually you get to hit her, right?
Yep.
And that is the hard part about this matchup that everyone understands. Everyone knows she doesn't have infinite jumps, but yet somehow people are always still getting hit by her when she's doing nothing in the air. And it's because I feel like people don't understand a couple things about like how speed and stage positioning work between these characters, or just in general, right? Like it changes so much if like I'm playing Fox against Puff, right? But from Marth's perspective, those are like two of the biggest things you have to know about neutral is don't fight her on the ground and don't fall for like, oh, I can finally like play with her now and like deal with the crouch. Like that is like, you want her in the air, but you want her to come at you in the air and not like, if she goes away, it really doesn't do anything, right? Like there's like a pretty, I don't want to say infamous, but there is a really like good video of Zane coaching husband in this matchup. And it always stuck out to me that Zane always said that like, I really don't care if Puff just spams back air or I get hit by a couple every now and then. Because like really, what is she doing here? Like Marth is standing still. I'm bad at doing back airs, but do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
she can't get any closer and like try and hit here because I can go in now if I think she's going to come in, right? And
right.
The idea is unlike, very similar to when we talked about like, okay, well, back air is spammable. And we're talking right now about like, okay, well, this is how you can beat Puff back air, right? And this is how like, yeah, maybe you can't hit her when she's doing like this back air, right? But if you know she's going to come in, then you can hit her. But the point I'm trying to make in general is like, if you understand fundamentally that like, okay, this is unpunishable. Same way we were talking about the Mewtwo down tilt thing. If I understand that I'm not going to be able to hit Puff, I can just do anything else. Do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, maybe if she's threatening that back air in my face and she's threatening to hit me with it, then yeah, maybe I'll bite or I'll hit her. But if I think at any point during that time she's just going to run away, I can run underneath her and take center stage. Does that make sense? Because I'm faster on the ground. So like, Marth's big strength is like, he never really at any point has to bite at Puff in the air, you know? And like, yeah, he might struggle if Puff manages to actually make her way in. But if you're playing good and you're playing at a distance like this all the time, for her to be able to do that is so, so difficult. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. But my only gripe with this is that the punish on her is difficult, because you said Zane says like he doesn't care if he gets hit by this many back airs. I know he's kind of saying that, you know, not in a kind of literal sense, but yeah, I don't know, where, you know, me being a, you know, low mid-level player, my punish game still developing, even on the characters I'm supposed to be comboing well, but especially versus Jigglypuff. I know it's not really a combo game, and it's more so, I guess you could say, who can hit the other more often, but it still just seems like such a struggle, and that you just have to really be dominating. Yeah. And you really can't take those back air hits, because you can't. Too many, then you know, you get sent. So,
and I do think for what it's worth, like Zane saying that is very different than most players, because he's so good with like positioning and crouch cancel and all these other things that like make it not as big of a deal. But I agree, right? Like, yeah, it's all well and good that I understand like, okay, yeah, I could have hit that back air. But if I'm taking like my one back air, because I agree, like I think Jigglypuff has a real combo game on Marth, right? But
Mhm.
I also, and I understand, like, if it's like the 80s, let's say, if you're not getting a grab, you're probably just getting your 1-2 hits in a lot of the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe you get like forward air into forward air, or like, I don't know, forward air, up air, but that's really like it at the higher percents. I would argue, however, though, the low percents, you actually do have a very good combo game against Jigglypuff. I think,
That's true. Yeah.
and I think the biggest thing to understand about her is that at the end of the day, she's a floaty, right? So like positioning matters more than getting a 0 to death punish on her every time, you know? And I know you don't see it as like Fox chain grab punish 0 to death, but what I'm trying to argue is like good positioning and understanding how some of these like common interactions work end up becoming a long combo string. Like you will still hit her for 80 because she won't be able to get in. And what difference does that make if you still are getting 80 and she can't get in versus like just doing it all off one grab? Does that make sense?
No, definitely. I think this kind of circles back to one of the earlier lessons we talked about where like analyzing the matches. Like if I'm analyzing a Fox game theoretically,
Mm-hmm.
kind of unrealistically, but a grab should lead to a death on Fox, right? So I
Yeah.
need to find out wherever in that chain anything that stopped that punish from going to its extent.
I think
I need to look at it. But with jigs, it's kind of different.
it's
Um,
hard, yeah, because it's like
yeah.
drift is ambiguous and sometimes there is just no punish. Like sometimes you
Mhm.
throw Jigglypuff the wrong way because it's a 50-50 throw, and that's just kind of it, you know? Or
Yeah.
like maybe you get a forward air and it's like, damn, well, I really couldn't have got much better punish off this forward air. And that's different than how you should look at it and that you have to look at it differently with like a puff matchup because like you're just not going to get those same interactions, right? Um, but I think if you follow the rules we kind of talked about, like how to play neutral and analyze it from that sense, then it gets a lot easier, right? Like I watched this down air and I'm like, yeah, you probably could have grabbed off of it, but it's hard to say because it's like, what if she just kept holding down? Because she wasn't holding down for this, like C stick down at least. So it's like maybe you get a punish off this, or maybe you get a tech chase or whatever. But now I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, well now you got forward air, now you got grabbed. Now it's still happening. It's because you're all like close to that like range against Puff that like is just gonna make it 10 times harder from you to begin with, right? Like this is all off the rest punish pretty much. You know, you haven't really got a
Mhm.
chance to play neutral yet. And
Yeah.
it's like it's not like any of this punish is true either, but it's like the positioning for her is just so strong, you know?
Yeah.
But that was like literally just all off that, right? And it's like, well, what the hell? And that's what I mean. Like Puff players do nothing, but they get
Yeah.
so much, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but it's because you're not representing the good thing first. And that's the problem against Jigglypuff for the most part. It's the same problem people have with the crouch, right? It's like you're not going to be able to play the air to air game if you can't deal with getting her off the ground to begin with. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to argue is like you're not going to be able to flesh out your punish game until you like start following some rules about like this is how I need to play against her in neutral so that you like because I agree she's too ambiguous otherwise and she's too strong in like weird spots that just randomly come up without like understanding these rules about the character, you know?
Yeah.
Like the
Can
benefit
you
now is that you have like years of matchup development to like fall back on from other players.
yeah.
But sorry, you
So
were gonna ask
okay.
something?
Yeah, can we dial it back just to the beginning? Like you said, this was essentially off of just one punish.
Yeah.
Um so really it definitely wasn't in my brain. But it from what you're saying, it looks like my top priority after this should have
Mm-hmm.
been after I'm in a bad spot, get back to neutral,
Yeah,
get away from
exactly.
her.
Reset.
But I think I was swinging or doing some other stuff. Like that was no good in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what that
The shield
card
after.
was.
Yeah.
The down air, definitely down air coming off the platform. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So and I'm above her. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can kind of see it. Yeah.
right? And it's like this is all just like it's not a combo game from her, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
she just gets all these freebies because like people don't know how to play against her, and she's really really good in some spots where it's like actually unfair if you don't deal with it, you know?
Yep.
Like I think it's completely unrealistic for me to like, or like most commentators, like a lot of commentators at like higher levels will expect people to beat them because they do know how to follow the rules, but it's hard for like a average Twitch chatter to understand like why is a comeback so difficult against Puff, you know? Um, but it's because like the neutral is complicated, and like even things like this can just happen. Like you play the spacing thing all right, and it's like, you know,
Oh,
you still get baited by the
yeah.
crouch. So that's why I was saying earlier in our DMs the other day, like I am like hesitant to try and like grab Puff's landing all the time because of
Mm-hmm.
this, you know? And
Yep.
also there's a super deep crouch she can do where technically speaking, when she lands with an aerial, or sorry, when she just does a normal landing or like does like a wave dash, let's say, she actually goes lower than her normal crouch. So sometimes if Jigglypuff wave dashes at you, you still can't grab her no matter what. But
Oh
that's like
wow.
that's a couple frames, so it's not like it's not probably super relevant for you right now. But point being, like I'm not lying when I say like this is like so broken OP for her, you know, um, or I'm not exaggerating. At least like it is something you have to know to play against if you want to know the
Yeah.
matchup. But like this, I think is all great, you know, and like this is something I would talk about probably in another lesson because we're like coming up on time a little bit and we've yapped so much about neutral. But like this is ideally what you want against Puff, right? Is like
Yep.
play this like landing, like cover her landings, whatever. And it's like where it gets hard is like when she's up in a spot like this. It's like, okay, well, kind of like we talked about, like if you end a combo string and she comes all the way up here, you know that if she goes in and she gets above you too quickly, you can't chase her. Like if she gets over you, like that's it, you know? Like now you're walling from this side. If she fakes going in and you jump trying to hit her going in, maybe she gets a pound and then you're off stage. Or like some people are like, okay, well I know she's not going to go above me. She'll probably stay around here. And so they go out and hit her and then she just drifts back, or you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
the falling aerials you're doing here are great because it's like she just can't punish that. And it's like, yeah, you don't get much for it, but you get something and she gets nothing, and that is like it adds up over time because then the grab mix-ups work, or then you're hitting her at like 110 now, maybe like an up tilt will kill her or like whatever. But it's like your neutral is better than Puff's, but Puff's is way easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's just like that's the truth of this matchup. So it's like when people watch, they're punished against Puff like for VODs for the most part. They're mostly just analyzing their neutral game, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like it's annoying, but it's also like that. I think it makes the matchup fun. Is like when you're really beating a Puff, like you know you're just completely outplaying them super hard, which is good. And like this was actually perfect of like what you'd want to do against a Puff that gets close to you, right? You're crouch canceling it, to be fair, but like here you hit her with a down tilt, she's gonna crouch it too. Like you know she has that broken crouch where she can get into it. Like this is what makes me so mad, just as like as a tangent. But she is in the air, dude. Like she is not crouching here, but she just ASDIs down out of it, and now she's in true crouch before it's even over. But it's like again, she can't deal with it. She goes back, you chase her with it, or like she goes in, she gets walled out, you know, and that's the hard part. So I think like if I'm gonna give you homework, you already have a ton of things you can experiment with and try out when you watch it back and take notes and whatever.
Yeah.
But a little rule to follow, I would say, imagine there's like a giant invisible wall here from like the edge of the platform and the edge here, right? So if I were to like literally draw this out for you, because I think this is important. Is there a way I can just, yeah, okay, cool. Here. Will this open in Paint? No. Okay. Right two giant walls here, right? This is if she's going to interact with you at the ledge. This is if she's going to interact with you on stage, like here or something, right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Puff, right? But if she's here on the ledge, like we talked about in center stage, right? If you're walling Puff out, like even if she has her broken back air, pound or whatever, like she cannot enter your forward air range because she will get hit, right? Or like she can't drift and try and like chase you out because you can nair at her. Do you know what I mean? Or like do an F smash or whatever. So if you play behind this like invisible wall, how is she gonna possibly interact with you when she's just off stage, right? She has to just get around something like a forward air, or maybe like an, I don't know how to draw an F smash, like F smash, or a down tilt, or like an up air, right? Like, but this all comes from behind this line. She can't get in, so she has to go above, right? And then it's like, okay, well, if she's playing from above now, all this stuff I just did in blue, like copy paste it over here, but now I have the center of the stage. Like you still can't get in. And if you go away, kind of like we talked about Captain Falcon, I'm just going to take the stage and like you have to come down eventually, you know? That is the Jigglypuff matchup. It's pretty difficult. It takes a ton of patience. I'll give you the screenshot if you want it.
Yeah, I was just about to ask actually. I think the what's it called?
Visualization.
That ranges with the moves, like yeah, the blue lines. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely a great way.
I will say also like
yeah.
even if she like hovers below, like you can down air her. I didn't draw it, but point being like ideas, right?
Yeah.
This is like your offensive game once you like get a good hit against her, you know? But I would say where most people go wrong is chasing her in the air and not dealing with crouch effectively. And I think this like the Mewtwo thing is probably like one of the best introductions of like context we could have had going into this, because it's like if you understand something is a little broken, you will be fine. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's okay because you can play around it with Marth. Like he has the tools at any point to deal with something, even if it's like really, really difficult and like stupid. That's just kind of the game, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, any like last questions before we end things off here? Or just thoughts
no,
or
man.
ideas?
I think that's good. Yeah, a lot of stuff to think about. I did take some notes.
Okay.
So definitely some cool stuff. I guess other questions is when are we gonna play doubles on your stream? Get a 4-man with some random stopping in because
I haven't streamed in a good while. I'll stop the recording here.